Shalum, shalom, and welcome. Welcome to End Time Unity Protocols, Checks and Balances. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah. This is the 47th installment. There will be one last installment after this. This is the 47th. There will be one more after this one, and before I begin to do actual videos and move beyond just audio. Again, as I say, it's not about me, but it is about worshiping and obeying the Almighty Father. To each, we must discover what is expected of us and walk in obedience to His guidance, to His living orders. With that said, my brothers and sisters, there's no doubt that 144,000 Hebrews, Abraham, along with a great multitude of many nations, kindreds, and tongues, as mentioned in Revelation 7 chapter, will emerge. There are no doubts that there will be those who will die for Yahusha's name. There are no doubts that some of us may face a physical death before all of this unfolds clearly. But one thing's for sure, our trajectory points to and leads to end-time prophecies being fulfilled moment by moment. In this installment, I'm compelled to present why the realities of end times require us to be mindful of time and movement. I speak of it often. Yes, my brothers and sisters, there will be movement. And to the stiff-necked but child of the Almighty Father who is ordered to move, make no mistake, it's not a maybe or a might. The Most High knows what it takes to make us move. And I state often, extreme humbling times are coming. Out of the discipline from the Almighty Father, many of us will find ourselves rising up, renewed in the power and might of the set-apart spirit of the Almighty Father, Yahuah, in Yahusha's name. We will grow to understand what it is to be swift to receive reproof and correction, and yield on the blood of the Lamb, and rise up in the spirit of set-apartness, the spirit of Yahuah, sent in Yahusha's name. Time and movement, my brothers and sisters. We will grow to know what is important in regards to preparation and actual movement. There will be intermittent times where we will move from one point to the next until we've reached that final destination. While there is much talk about leaving Babylon or mystery Babylon, we fail to discern the detail and processes necessary for fulfilling the final exodus. I have spoken on the matter of time and movement on more than one occasion, and I find myself being compelled to revisit the need to be mindful of time and movement once again. With that said, let me read the following. Colossians 4:5 say, walk in wisdom toward those who are outside, redeeming the time. Are we not aware with each passing day we are redeeming the time? There are no rewind buttons, my brothers and sisters. I also want to read, that was Colossians 4:5. I also want to read 1 John 4:1. Beloved one, do not believe every spirit, but prove the spirits whether they are of the Almighty One, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. I say to you, my brothers and sisters, in the midst of all the noise, we will learn how to prove the spirit. We will learn how to vet and examine the spirit behind those whom we are around and consider ourselves in fellowship with. There will be others that we will meet. There will be individuals that we'll meet. Some of us will be strangers to one another. But we who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father will change from the title of a stranger to a loved brother or sister, being brought together and fitted together by the power and might of the Almighty Father. Proverbs 4:25 reads, let your eyes look forward and your eyelids look straight before you. I have said, my brothers and sisters, we have spent much time on our history. There's a lot to discover of what have happened to our forefathers back in the days of old, as well as in the days where the history books have been hidden from us. A lot of things are being uncovered. But I say to you, my brothers and sisters, if we spend all of our time just looking at what they did to us as Hebrews or Abraham, if we look at what was done to the children who sought to do the will of the Almighty Father, how much time do we have to focus on the things we must do now and prepare for the things we must do going forward? Yes, history is a good thing, but let us know when to look forward when to have our eyelids looking straight. Discipline demands that we learn how to be focused and discern what the spirit of Abba Yahuah, sent in Yahusha's name, is saying to us. There are no doubts in my mind that we must and will begin to receive knowledge that is necessary to fulfill the final exodus in order to be martyrs for Yahusha's name and to live out our final days, contributing to the building up of the set-apart, awakening nation of Yasharal. There are no doubts in my mind that knowledge is important. There are no doubts in my mind that many will seek refuge as end times ramp up. So considering the matter of knowledge and the matter of refuge, I want to read to you Proverbs 1:7 and 14:26. Proverbs 1:7 says, the fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge. So let us fear him in these days, my brothers and sisters, and let us yield and discern to the knowledge that he presents before us, whether it be directly or through us one towards another. Proverbs 1:7 say, the fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. Are we fools? I think not, my brothers and sisters. Let us not despise the wisdom and discipline from the Almighty Father. Regarding refuge, consider Proverbs 14:26. It says, in the fear of Yahuah is strong trust, and his children have a place of refuge. We will begin to identify what that place of refuge is, my brothers and sisters. For some, it would be literal, physical place of refuge. For others, it would be knowing that our refuge is to depart from these earthen vessels and be in the bosom of the Most High until such time as resurrection day, and we live with Yahushua Mashiach forever. Yasharal, set apart, brothers and sisters, things to consider as end times press forward. We must learn, and we will learn, how to avoid being among the ranks of those who stop too soon, who miss the total instructions from Abba Yahuah because they think they got it. I got enough. You said enough. I get it. Do we really get it? Did we snatch the fruit off a tree and eat it without regards to how it came to be, without regards to the seed, the tree or the vine, the branches, what it took to nurture it? Or did we just devour the fruit? In other words, do we get something from one another and take it and run with it without knowing the full meaning, without knowing what responsibilities come with the things that we receive? Pray, O Yasharal. This spiritual battle comes with wisdom, comes with knowledge, comes with strength, comes with power. In the name of Yahushua Mashiach, my brothers and sisters, let us be mindful of not being among the ranks of those who stop too soon. Also, be aware and realize the need to exercise belief, to avoid waiting too long to act. You see, there are those who will be over anxious and move too swiftly, and there will be those who will be as sluggards and wait too long because of disbelief, because of being unlearned or non-discerning, or maybe because they're too caught up in distractions or their own pleasures. It is important, excuse me, it is important to be mindful of the weights we face. There are weights that hold us back. Weights that hold us back for good reasons. And there are weights that hold us back for bad reasons. Balance, focus, discerning what the Spirit of Yahuah has to say. For there is a difference in a set-apart weight and a wicked weight. Balance, my brothers and sisters. I encourage each and every listener to these words to seek to discern how to measure one's words against their expectation. In other words, if a person's saying, I expect end times, I expect us to leave Babylon or Mystery Babylon, I expect for Yasharal to come together in unity, then look at the actions. What are they doing to help grow unity among Yasharal? What's occurring? Match the words to the actions and see if there is balance, my brothers and sisters. Yasharal, we will grow to master asking relevant questions that will lead to deliverance from many strongholds. We will grow to know the importance of the words who, what, where, when, how in the coming days ahead like never before. Yes, time and movement requires details and processes. It requires obedience. It requires being mindful of what our Yahuwah Spirit is saying to us. My brothers and sisters, I am very much aware that in Matthew 6:25, it reads, "Because of this, I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you shall eat, drink, or about your body, what you shall put on. Is not life more than the food and the body more than the clothing? Beware, O Yasharal, for there are those who will have you read this and think that there's no need to be proactive, that there's no need to prepare. There are those who will echo these words of Matthew 6:25, where it say, don't worry, to promote laziness and slothfulness. It say, don't worry. It didn't say, don't prepare. Remember the story of Noah. He prepared and built an ark according to the specs that was given him by the Almighty Father. The ark didn't just appear in thin air. There was preparations. There was work. There were details to bring about the fulfillment of what was ordered by the Almighty Father. Remember the story of the maidens and their lamps in the 25th chapter of Matthew. Here we see the need to be prepared. The hour is at hand and will come for those who must fulfill the final exodus. The 144,000 Hebrews, Abraham, along with great multitude consisting of both Hebrews and Gentiles, or Abraham and Goyim, is another way of putting it, who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father, that are made one by Yahusha Mashiach, who recognize that it is the inward man that takes priority over the individual being, physical being. It is the inward man. There's a time we must acknowledge nationality and race to recognize the fulfillment of the Almighty Father's promises. And there are times when we must look beyond and say there's neither Hebrew nor Gentile, but set apart children under the banner of Yasharal, set apart children of Yasharal, set apart children of the Almighty Father. My brothers and sisters, the hour is at hand for a balance to come, for us to understand. Soon and very soon, as extreme humbling times ramp up, we will recognize the chosen leaders of our Yahuwah sent in Yahusha's name, and we will grow to understand the value of time and movement. My brothers and sisters, there are living instructions going forward. There are those who dismiss the words of the obedience like they did our forefathers and prophets of old. The plan of Abba Yahuwah will be successful, and all obstacles will be removed. Sure, will the wicked still exist? Sure, up until the last day of the last trump, there will be wickedness. But the plan of the Most High will not be impeded. It will not be stopped by anyone. Just a side note, my brothers and sisters, as I wrap up this short installment, time and movement is important. I have one more installment to this series before I transition and move from just audio to video. As I said on more than one occasion, it's not about me, but pray and watch, O Yasharal. It is about obeying the living orders from Abba Yahuwah in Yahusha's name. We will witness brothers and sisters begin to come together. We will witness the rise of 144,000. We will witness a great multitude coming together in unity, led by the Spirit of Yahusha. The power and might of the Almighty Father will be with us. And yes, it will be a remnant when you compare it to the total population. Be encouraged, O Yasharal, our redemption draws near. What say you, O listener to these words? Is time an important part of your life, our life? What say you, O receiver of this message? Do you think movement has a critical part in our final days? If so, what are we doing to prepare, or have we begun moving? Until next time, my brothers and sisters, let us seek to be good stewards of the time we are given, along with being responsible as it relates to movement, including intermittent migration, as we are led by the Almighty Father, Yahuwah in Yahusha's name. Intermittent migration, moving from one city or one state or one country to the next. And I trek towards the promised land, towards the set apart mountain. It is my belief that there will be a massive crowd that will be gathered in prospective countries, and that massive crowd will find themselves on their way to the set apart mountain. Currently, I believe that mountain is named Jabal Allah, situated in the northwest quadrant of Saudi Arabia. I believe that it's the true Mount Sinai, and that would be the focal point, the axis, so to speak, of where Yasharal will come together. And the world will know for the power and might of those who will rise, used by the Almighty Father, will execute instructions and words that will line up with let my people go, that will line up with return my people back to the land of which I have promised them. Words that will be followed with power and might. There will be discipline to get us straight, to refine us for what's ahead. There will be vengeance. There will be wrath. These are the realities of what is written, O Yasharal. Time and movement is a key factor in end-time prophecy fulfillment. Until next time, I invite your communications, your questions, your comments, if and only if you believe you're being led to do so. And I say that, my brothers and sisters, for time is precious. We don't have time for meaningless and unfruitful debates and arguments. Let us focus on what the Most High is directing us to do. Let us leave behind those who prefer to eat up the oxygen, so to speak, and exhaust the time and redeem the time just to argue and debate. There are ways to identify those who are sincere, my brothers and sisters. There are vetting strategies that I have presented before. Strategies that we can use to vet one another before we move any further with such a one. For if we are not in unity in these sequential strategies that have been brought forth, if we are able to discern the true purpose of the feast times, if we're not able to vet in sequence in the order that is required, we will find ourselves continually in the mix of compromising camps, fellowships, communities, groups, assemblies, etc. But if we understand the sequence of the purpose of the feast times and understand their purpose, how they could be used to vet one another before proceeding further in fellowship, then we will rise up more polished, more refined. I've spoken on this matter on many occasions. If you are listening to this for the first time and desire to know what do I mean, pose your question, O Yasharal. Pose your question. I'll give you a brief idea. Passover. Instructions that led to life. Without Passover, there can be no discussion in set apartness. Unleavened bread. Without leaning to the word, the living word of the Almighty Father, there can be no discussion of coming together. First fruits, understanding that some will get it over others. Without understanding that, it could be no unity. For many people will be dismissing things that are righteous, that are set apart, because they don't get it. But if we understand first fruits, if we understand some will get it before others. Harvest, knowing that more and more people, we'll see progression as more and more people will get it, get the living orders from the Almighty Father. Trumpet, the time to shout in unity, the time to speak out, the excitement of coming together. Atonement, knowing in our excitement we'll stumble and fall, so we'll know the power of the blood of the Lamb as we yield to reproof and correction. And rising up in the spirit of Yahuah, we will recognize that the spirit of Yahuah, that we are his house. We are that tabernacle. You see, my brothers and sisters, embedded in the feast times is a purpose that can be passed on from generation to generation. If someone want to talk about tabernacle and we don't agree with Passover, we can have no conversation that would be wise. If we cannot address the need to discern between good and evil, recognizing the purpose of unleavened, the feast of unleavened bread, we can have no fruitful conversation that will end well. You see, my brothers and sisters, the Most High has given us many things and instructions that aid in us obeying his 10 commandments, his laws and statutes, his living instructions, his living orders. Time and movement, my brothers and sisters, we must vet so that we don't find ourselves going in the wrong direction or with the wrong group or with the wrong community or camp. Time and movement is critical. Ask your questions to those whom you trust. Seek out counsel, for it is written, in the multitude of counsel, there's safety. I submit to you, my brothers and sisters, this is addressing that counsel as set apart individuals who have demonstrated that they are indeed walking in obedience to the Most High. You see, there are those who will take that passage and run with it. Be mindful of the counsel you seek, my brothers and sisters. Let's see if I can find that. Proverbs 11:14 say, without guidance the people fall, but in a great counsel there is safety. Another translation reads differently. It reads, where no counsel is, the people fall, but in a multitude of counselors there is safety. Safety will be a critical factor in these final days, my brothers and sisters. With that said, time and movement, what say you, O listener to these words? What say you, O recipient to this message? In the name of Yahusha HaMashiach, I present to you the 47th installment of End Time Unity Protocols. My name is Symmanayah, and I bid you much Shalum.